Well, good morning, Georgiana, and welcome to this week's Take 5. And let me just express a huge thank you to you all for just making an incredible Easter weekend. We started off with the Easter egg hunt. We moved over to Holy Trinity on Sunday morning and had just an amazing Easter service. And then we also got to announce this incredible compassion offering that came in the previous Sunday and really the days in between that week. And so almost $200,000 that we got to announce given for orphans in Haiti and Kenya. Just an incredible weekend. Thank you for being that church. It's been a joy. Now, as we move to Take 5, things look a little bit differently. You may notice even the setting is a little bit different. We're starting a new book with the book of James, and we're going to do it a little bit differently today. We're going to start off with just an overview of the book of James. James is written by, wait for it, James, the brother of Jesus. And the interesting thing about James is that he was initially pretty slow to believe. In fact, if you look at the Gospels, if you look at them closely, you're going to see James and the other brothers actually kind of getting in the way of Jesus' ministry. But I think we can be a little bit hard on James sometimes because, imagine if it was your brother who claimed to be the Son of God. Like, how hard would it be for you to believe that, right? But after the resurrection, it seems like James comes around and he becomes a big leader in the Jerusalem church. Now, some experts think that this letter from James is one of the earliest New Testament writings that we have. The interesting thing about this letter is that, in contrast to several others in the New Testament, this letter is not written to a very specific audience or a very specific church, but it's actually circulated to a number of churches at that time. So people wonder if maybe it was distributed to the churches that were scattered after the stoning of Stephen. There was a great persecution that happened after that stoning. You can read about that in Acts 7 and 8. And so after the churches are scattered, maybe this letter goes out from Jerusalem, from James, to those scattered churches. Because a letter from someone like James, someone who is the half-brother of Jesus, someone who is a leader in the Jerusalem church, hopefully would boost the morale of those churches that are being scattered after that. And so James is writing to this broad, scattered audience, probably Jewish. Maybe they're facing oppression, they're facing difficulties and persecution. And in this situation, James's central theme is about having a faith that works, having a faith that it actually expresses itself in your daily life. So there are other letters, for instance, like Paul's letter to the Romans, that's a whole lot about how do we have a faith that, what does it mean to believe? What does a faith look like when we believe? But James is a whole lot about what our faith looks like and what we do, right? What do we do? And maybe it's for this reason that James looks a whole lot like a New Testament version of Proverbs. It's full of a whole bunch of healthy, helpful things that we can do in our everyday lives to express this faith that we have in Jesus. And so one very practical thing that's incredibly relevant to Georgiana comes from James 1:27. He says this, "Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world." So here at Georgiana, we put a stake in the ground over the past couple of weeks, and we decided that we are going to sacrificially give to those who are in the most need. And we are sending, as we speak, we are sending ministry-changing gifts to Kenya and to Haiti. I think James would be proud, right? But let's take this a little bit deeper than that. If James's central theme is how do we have a faith that works itself out in our everyday lives, then I think that's a question worth asking ourselves today. Or let me put it a little bit differently. How does our faith go from being one thing among many things that we do to the thing that defines us, to the thing that holds sway over all the other things that we may do? And so here's our homework this week. So number one, I want you to wrestle with that question. I want you to wrestle with what that means for you and how that might change things for you. Number two is I want you to read all of James this week. As we prepare for a week-by-week study of the book, read all of James. It's 5 chapters. You can do it in one sitting, super easy. And come back and meet us right here next week as we start diving into this wonderful, amazing book of James. We'll see you then.